Good evening, all. I welcome you all to the day 5 of this 5-day series, and we'll start the technical session by 7 o'clock. Before that, I would like to give a few instructions to you today, being the last day of this series. We have a small validity program at 8 o'clock, and after, yeah, okay. So after, yeah, I think someone has unmuted. Yeah. So after the valedictory program, the feedback link will be shared, and the Q&A session will continue after 8:15. If you are interested to interact with the speaker, just I want to give you, because the technical session will span from uh, 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, and till 8 o'clock we can take some questions if time permits. Otherwise, we'll start the validity program. It's a very short validity program. And I would like you to unmute and you can share your feedback when the call is given to you. And then today we are going to have the overall feedback form link will be shared. And please make sure that you give your correct name, because it will be appearing in the certificate. Like if you want to have like doctor or Mr. or Miss or Mrs., whatever it may be, and then with the correct spelling. Don't make any mistakes, that because many a time what happens, you are asking us to give a new certificate with spelling mistake and so on. We will not do anything with respect to the name and the institution name and all of the details. Whatever you have given, it will be appearing there. So please take some time to fill the overall feedback form. Your feedbacks are very, very important to improve the quality of our work, and you can feel free to express your views about our series, our speakers, content, and so on. And at the end, we will share all the resource person and their email IDs for you to interact with them to get things clarified after this series. Vidya ma'am, you can share your screen and keep the front page. You can make it full screen, ma'am.
Yes, yes. Are you able to see the full screen, sir?
Yeah, yes. Okay, I think.
Can I start my presentation?
Just a minute, I'll introduce you.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, good evening all, and I'm very happy and delighted to have you all here on the day 5 of this 5-day series on qualitative research and political and social sciences. When you think about the 5-day series, we need to culminate at the end with the research publications, and rightly we have a topic: scholarly publications in political and social sciences, structures, processes, and practices. And this particular topic is given by one of our fabulous speakers of our college, Dr. Vidya. When you want to say that the speaker, she has a lot of credentials to her academic and research background, and she has qualified for the National Eligibility Test for Lectureship in 2010, and awarded the JRF by UGC again in 2010. And she has been serving as assistant professor in the Department of Political Science in MCC since 2012. And she has contributed a lot in terms of writing research articles and a lot of book chapters to specific you, the class 11 and 12 of Tamil Nadu government textbook, and her contribution is immense in the State Council of Education, Research and Training, SCRT, Government of Tamil Nadu, and again the TANCHI, Tamil Nadu State Council for Higher Education, Government of Tamil Nadu, and all other things. She has worked a lot in enriching the quality of education. In fact, her PhD is in line with the education in Tamil Nadu. And then she has published a number of research articles in very reputed journals, and contributed to a lot of books, especially She has edited books on quality education, climate action, focusing on the SDG, uh, and so on. And she has been serving as a resource person for many incidents. And she is also a core member in our college IQAC. So she's the right person to talk about the scholarly publication, and she will take us to the journey of getting through the line to get the papers in a reputed journal. And without further delay, I would like to hand over the session to Dr. Vidya. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. Uh, so my screen is visible and I'm audible, right?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. At the outset, I would like to thank the Madras Christian College Research Colloquium and the Department of Political Science for this opportunity. And I'm very happy to be part of this concluding session of this lecture series on quality research in political and social sciences. And today, I will be speaking on scholarly publishing in political and social sciences, structures, processes, and practices. So, to begin with, let me give you all an overview of my presentation. There are three broad aspects that I will be focusing on. First, I will talk about the structures, and when I say structures, I refer to the institutions, the systems, the frameworks, all of that, which shapes scholarly publishing in political and social sciences. Second, I will be focusing on the processes about how knowledge actually moves, because as you all know, everything starts from an idea, and after the idea comes, there's a lot of research, and then we go to the published work. So in many ways, this is like the final lap of everything that you have been discussing over the last 4 days. And thirdly, I'll also be talking a little bit about the practices, how we as scholars can effectively navigate this publishing system, how do we engage with it more, and what is going to be our strategy, and so on. So this is going to be the three important uh, things that I will be talking to you about today. And so, the most important thing before we start discussing about the publishing ecosystem, the most important thing for us to understand the academic culture as a key framework. And it is through this framework or through this lens that we will interpret how research and publications function in political and social sciences. So, over the past few days, many sessions have emphasized on breaking the disciplinary silos. My colleagues have spoken to you about it. And yes, it is very important because today we speak about interdisciplinarity, we speak about multidisciplinarity, and even about transdisciplinarity. But despite all our efforts to transcend the borders of our own disciplines, we are all deeply shaped by what we call the academic culture, or can I even say the subcultures that exist within our own disciplines. So, this is something that we cannot ignore. See, for instance, if you look at natural sciences, there is a strong, or I can even say, almost an unquestioned emphasis on index journal publications. Particularly, they talk a lot about platforms like Scopus or Web of Science. In fact, even books, especially edited volumes, are evaluated within this same framework. And with this, the ranking metrics come in, they play a very dominant role. These metrics prioritized indexed outputs, but this has also led to a lot of criticism that ranking systems often favor the natural sciences over social sciences. So is this criticism true? Is it a mere exaggeration? Answers to these can actually lead us to a very unending debate, and we're not getting into it now. What we need to understand, or what we need to look at, is basically what does this academic culture mean for each one of us. It simply means that as scholars, especially being part of the Indian academia, we do not have a choice but to learn to navigate through the system very strategically. Simply because the nature of scholarship in political sciences and social sciences is very different when you compare it with the natural sciences. Our publications are not just limited to journals and books alone. We have other platforms like think tanks, we have policy reports, we have other peer reviewed outputs that also carry a lot of academic value. In fact, many scholars, both in India and globally, actively collaborate with a lot of think tanks, they publish with them, and such engagements are also definitely very impactful. So this highlights a very important distinction when it comes to publishing in natural sciences and social sciences. In social sciences, impact is not confined to traditional metrics like the H index. It goes beyond that, because here we are looking at not just the ranking, we are looking at the policy influence, we are looking at the public discourse, we are taking into account institutional engagement and so many other factors. So this also makes us understand that in social sciences, the difference is not just about the methods. Is your work qualitative? It's your work quantitative? That's not the only thing that we discuss about. But here, the very culture of knowledge production itself is very different. And all said, all this on one side, we also cannot ignore reality. We're all part of higher education institutions. Our work contributes to institutional rankings. We all look forward to some kind of academic visibility and credibility. So what is the challenge now? The challenge now is to balance both. On one hand, we have no choice but to meet the demands of the metrics, to take into account the ranking systems. At the same time, on the other hand, we also need to sustain the intellectual culture of our discipline and not just fully focus on metrics alone. Because ultimately, we are not just producing research, we are also strengthening the research ecosystem of the institutions we belong to. And in a way or so, we are shaping the very direction of knowledge itself. And now, moving on, I would like to talk a little bit about the institutional ecosystem, because it is important for us to understand the key institutional pillars that support research and publishing in social and political sciences. First, we have the universities and research institutions. They are not just spaces where research happens, but they're also active platforms for publication, because many of these universities, they have their own in-house journals, and collaborations between institutions also result in maybe conference proceedings and so on. And they're also valid and very important forms of research outcomes. Then you have the think tanks, you have the research organizations across India and globally. There are numerous institutions that actively produce and disseminate research. And for scholars in political and social sciences, these spaces are definitely not peripheral. They are very central to impactful research. And then you have academic journals and publishers. And this is where we become more, when we talk about academic journals and publishers, we tend to become more conscious of the indexing system, because it is this system that basically defines what can be seen as quality in academic publishing. You have platforms like Scopus, you have Web of Science. They're all particularly very important. And there's also one more thing that I would like to say. Uh, I think most of you also know this. Despite the name Web of Science, this particular platform is not limited to natural sciences. It also includes journals from political science, international relations, economics, and even many more disciplines. So, if you look at our disciplines, political science or social sciences in general, you will find journals that are indexed only in Scopus. You will find journals that are indexed only in Web of Science, and some journals are also indexed in both. And it's very important to understand this system when you make publication choices or publication decisions. Another important avenue is research projects and funding bodies. We have the ICSSR, we have the ICWA, and we also have institutions like the organizations like the National Commission for Women. They also regularly keep offering research grants, they project funds, they give you conference opportunities, and all of these can also lead to publications, because you're going to have reports, you're going to have edited volumes, you're going to have conference proceedings, and so on. And at the same time, we should also recognize the role of the governments and public bodies. You have the union and the state governments, you have the government departments and agencies, and at times you also have international funding sources. So these bodies frequently support research based on their priorities, based on the policy needs, and these projects lead to significant academic outputs. So when we look at the institutional ecosystem, what we have to understand is that it's not just about journals alone. It is a network of universities. You have think tanks on one side, you have publishers, you have funding agencies, you have government bodies, and it is all these institutions together that shape how knowledge in our disciplines is produced, it's funded, it's disseminated, and so on. And this particular slide is just to give you a broader landscape of publication avenues. As I mentioned earlier, social sciences, it goes beyond the narrow confines of journals and books. Of course, journals continue to be one of the most prestigious and widely recognized forms of publication. But along with that, you have edited volumes, and edited volumes are very important, you should know, because when it comes to edited volumes, multiple scholars can contribute, and they give you an opportunity to also be editor, where you're basically shaping, a thematic volume. For instance, if you take the Madras Christian College, my institution, we have been bringing out an annual edited series on the Sustainable Development Goals. The Deanery of Research and Development of the Madras Christian College has been doing it. And so what happens is that as colleagues, we all join together, we become editors, and we also invite our other colleagues to contribute chapters. So multiple scholars are able to contribute to one edited volume. And contributing chapters is also very significant. It's a very significant academic output. And contributing to textbooks, again, it's very important. Think tank publications are very important. And how do we engage with think tanks? Sometimes they have commission projects, sometimes there's an open call for submissions. So in a way or so, you engage with them, and you get into policy relevant research work and so on. So if you look at it from the perspective of metrics and rankings, the most recognized outputs are, of course, journal articles, books chapters. But again, other forms of writing are also there: think tank publications, media articles, magazines, newspapers, blogs. You have web platforms and so on. They are also equally important, because in social sciences, our goal is not just knowledge production. It's also about social engagement, social impact, social change, and so on. We engage with the public, we contribute to a lot of political and social discourses, we debate on many matters, we help shape public opinion, we are part of so many policy conversations, and so on. So your research or your writing does not necessarily have to be a full-fledged research article. It can just be a reflection of your research, it can be a commentary on a current issue, or it can even be an opinion piece. They are also powerful forms of academic engagement. In fact, there are so many highly reputed online platforms and blogs that are run by leading universities and institutions globally, and some of them are considered as impactful or maybe even more visible than the other popular journals. But unfortunately, these are not always counted within the ranking framework. So we need to understand that the world of publishing in social sciences is very diverse, it's very layered, and as scholars, we should be able to use multiple avenues strategically, not just for metrics, but the focus should also be on meaningful impact. And the next particular slide is, this is just to give you a snapshot of the various publishers in our field. Now you should know, except for Economic and Political Weekly, most of what you see here are publishers. They're not individual journals. They're among the leading global publishers in social sciences and political science. You see all their names on the slide. And how do we make use of them? A very practical approach is to visit their websites, is to explore journals that come within your area of interest or expertise. And these platforms host hundreds of journals. So the idea is not to find any journal, but to find the right fit for your work. Another important thing that we need to also understand is that when we talk of a journal like Taylor and Francis, we are basically referring to an international publisher. But you should know, the journals that they publish may actually be in India. It can be based in India, it can be run by a university, it can be associated with a think tank, and so on. So we shouldn't always assume that an international publisher always means a completely foreign or a very distant journal. It's not the case always. And now coming to Economic and Political Weekly, it's very unique. I should say it has a dual identity. On one hand, it functions like it's a weekly magazine, as you all know, but it is also a Scopus index journal. And on the other hand, you should know it is also one of the most prestigious academic platforms in India. It's highly selective, and publishing in EPW is not easy, as you all know. But if your work aligns with their theme, they will be very happy to publish it, and it will also be extremely impactful. And these publishers are basically our primary gateways into the world of academic publishing. And our task here as researcher is to navigate them carefully, is to identify where our work best fits. And moving on, the next important aspect is the metrics. And as you all know, metrics are the quantitative indicators that is used to measure your research performance and the academic impact. They shape how research quality and visibility is assessed within the world of academia. And one of the common metrics is citation count. And citation count is nothing but the number of times your work is cited by the other researchers. How far is your work circulated within the academic conversations? And then you have impact factor. This is a journal level metric. This is calculated annually. This is basically about the average citations per article in a journal. This is to understand the influence of that particular journal that you are referring to. The next one is H index. I'm quickly talking about all of this because I know most of us are aware of all of this. The next one is H index. H index is very simply put, it combines productivity and impact into one number. It shows how many papers you have, how often they are cited. So if you have 5 papers and each of them are cited at least 5 times, your H index is 5. And then you also have the I-10 index, which is about how many of your publications have received at least 10 citations. That's the I-10 index. And apart from the, okay, these are some of the metrics. And now, having explained to you about a little bit about the metrics, I should tell you it's an undeniable fact that citations matter, metrics matter. And to be honest, when our work gets cited, we're all so happy about it. We even tend to share it on so many platforms like LinkedIn. We celebrate the little visibility that we have got in the world of academia. But the problem here is that if we keep excessively focusing on metrics, this can create an impression that the ultimate goal of a researcher is simply to become a source for someone else's citation. And that should never be the case. Our idea is not just to become somebody else's citation. What we look forward to is a meaningful research that can also be widely cited. For example, I can give you our own example. Some of my colleagues from the department and I, we were part of a work on the Indian Air Force Road in Tambaram. Yes, the work got published, and but we are not sure if the work is going to be cited by many scholars, because how many scholars are working specifically on a road in East Tambaram? Very few scholars will be I don't even know if very few scholars will be working on one particular road in East Tambaram. Of course, our colleagues in college were very interested about the work. That's basically because we make use of the Indian Air Force Road almost every day when we come to college. But again, though the work is rigorous, it is a very meaningful work, it may not necessarily attract high citation counts. That's what I'm trying to convey. And this brings us to a very deeper question, an epistemological dilemma, I should say. If metrics dominate how we evaluate research, then what is the true purpose of knowledge production? What is it that we are trying to achieve? As I told you earlier, our goal is not just to get cited. We want to engage with the society. We want to respond to real world issues. We want to contribute to some kind of social change. So we should understand metrics. We should work within them, but use them strategically. But at the same time, we should also be very careful that we never let them define the value of our scholarship. And this brings us to another important question now. How do we understand impact in social and political sciences? So it's high time we rethink about what we mean when we say research impact, because impact can never be reduced to the number of publications you have or the number of citations and so on. In our disciplines, impact operates in much deeper, much broader ways. We talk about policy influence. How far does our work contribute to policy change? There is public engagement. Are we engaging with the society? Are we part of larger public conversations? Because the very essence of political and social sciences is about our relationship with the society. Much of our work is directed in a way or so towards some kind of a social change. So publications count, yes. Metrics do matter when it comes to career evaluations, yes. But then it often takes one groundbreaking work to completely transform a researcher's trajectory, I should say. So impact is not just about how much we publish, it's also about what truly endures. We do not, as we all say, no, we do not judge an artist by the number of paintings they produce, but only by the ones that stand the test of time. So similarly in academia also, what matters uh, is your idea relevant? Is it context sensitive? Is it capable of becoming an agent of social change? All this is what becomes very, very important. Across disciplines, including natural sciences, there is also a growing movement to rethink the traditional metrics that we have today. And one important example that I would like to give is the DORA. This is the agreement that I had signed recently. It is the San Francisco It's a declaration that I had signed. It's called the San Francisco Declaration on Research Assessment. This is basically an initiative that calls for a revaluation of how we assess research impact. And I would also like to encourage each one of you to sign this particular declaration, because this particular declaration argues for moving beyond narrow metrics. It talks about a more holistic evaluation framework. It recognizes the significance of teaching, societal impact, real world relevance, and so on. So, if our research does not contribute to understanding or improving the world that we are part of, then what is the point in even being endlessly cited, or what is the point in simply increasing publication counts? And so now there's a growing global call to reimagine how we evaluate knowledge and how we evaluate scholarship, and this particular declaration works in that direction. And moving on, I would also like to introduce, or I should say reintroduce you to different types of publications within the journal ecosystem. And to make this more concrete, I like to take the example of a journal that many of us are familiar with, Astropolitics. Astropolitics is an international journal where several of us, including myself and my colleagues, have published. And if you look at this particular journal description, you will notice that journals don't just publish one kind of article. They actually offer multiple formats of engagement. For instance, you have research articles, 5,000 to 10,000 words is what they say. They are full length scholarly contributions. But you also have view essay points. Again, here the emphasis is more on the perspective and the argument, and not just data. Then you have book review, and which is very important, because even by reading a book critically, that could result in a publication. Because most journals accept book reviews somewhere between 8,000 to 1,000 words, they are okay with it. Then you also have article commentaries. And when you say article commentaries, this does not mean it's just a casual opinion piece. It still requires a certain level of academic rigor, because it is more focused, it is more concise, and so on. And interestingly, some journals, even Astropolitics for that matter, they also accept interviews. You can interview key scholars, you can interview practitioners in your field, and then there are also research reports that they will accept. So, what you have to understand is that not all journals follow the same structure, or they do not have the same kind of requirement. For example, the word limits are different, article types vary, their reference styles are different, and so on. Most journals under TNF, Taylor and Francis, they follow the Chicago style, but there are others that do not follow the Chicago style. They have the MLA and so on. So again, as I mentioned earlier, a journal can be based in India even if it's published by an international publisher. So this is what we need to know. And again, moving on, I would also like to connect, with what has we have been discussing over the past few days. For example, some of the works you see here, it's about the IAF road that I had mentioned earlier. You see publications by my colleague Dr. Hans Freddy in journals like Strategic Analysis. You have articles in Economic and Political Weekly. You have a work published in Maritime Affairs by me and two of my other colleagues, Adesh and Rahul, which is associated with the National Maritime Foundation and so on. This is just to give you an idea that publications can emerge from different contexts. It can, but what matters is how effectively are we able to align our research with the right platform and the right format. That is what is important. So publications can emerge from different contexts. And so now, moving on, I would also like to say something more practical. How do we look at journal selection as a strategy? So choosing the right journal is not accidental. It is a very deliberate and a strategic decision. So, the first question that we need to ask ourselves is, does my work match the scope and audience of the journal? Because every journal, as you know, has a specific theme, it has a focus, it has a target readership. So, if your work does not align with that, even a good paper may get rejected. Second, we also need to understand the journal's editorial priorities. What kind of debates do they engage with? What kind of methods or perspectives do they prefer? So, this requires you to first read the journal even before you submit your article to it. And third, you also have to look at the acceptance rates. Many journals indicate what percentage of submissions actually get accepted. So, this will give you a sense of how competitive this particular journal is. And now, coming to something more important, the element of value. Yes, the value of a journal matters, but do not decide the value by just by looking at its quartile rankings. You know, there's Q1 to Q4, top 25, top 50, top 75, and then the last 25%. But in social sciences, you should know there are many journals that are highly respected, even if they are not strictly in Q1. So the element of value must be understood in a very broader disciplinary sense. Another point of caution is also the speed. Most scholars hesitate to submit to good journals because they think it will take time. Yes, the process can be very slow. There are articles that we have submitted and it has taken 2 years for us to get it published. Yes, the process is very slow. And that's basically because the system itself is often overloaded. There are many articles that the journal keeps receiving. So that should never discourage us. So research is not just time consuming. When it comes to the writing stage, even the publication process requires a lot of patience. So don't choose journals just because it is fast. Choose because it is right for your work. And finally, about relevance and audience, again, you have to ask yourself, do you want your work to have a global reach? Do you want it to have national or regional relevance and so on? For example, if you're writing on something like Indian federalism, a strong national journal might be the appropriate platform. At the same time, you may choose an international journal if you want to engage with a broader audience. But what we need to remember is that the value is not determined by just being international. For example, journals like Economic and Political Weekly are nationally rooted, but you know they are globally respected. So we have to ask ourselves, what is our goal? Who are our audience? Where will my work be most meaningful? So good publishing is not just about getting published, it's also about getting published in the right place. And now I would also like to talk about a very crucial stage in publishing, the peer review process. So when it is a journal article, a book chapter, or even a book manuscript, peer review plays a central role. It means that your work is evaluated by experts, your peers within the same field. And blindly, peer review can take two forms. One is the anonymous review systems, the other one is the open review systems. And when you talk about anonymous peer review, there are three types. First is the single blind review. Here, the reviewer knows who the author is, but the authors do not know about the reviewers. Secondly, the most common system, the double blind review. Here, the authors do not know about the reviewers, and the reviewers do not know about the author also. And the third one is the triple blind review. This is very rare. In this case, the identities of the authors, the reviewers, and even the editors are concealed. So, on the other hand, we also have open peer review. This is a much more transparent system where identities and sometimes even the review reports are visible. Both systems have their own strengths, the open, the blind, and all of that. They have their own strengths, they have their own limitations. We can say open review system promotes transparency, there's accountability, whereas in an anonymous review, especially the double blind review, is often valued for its ability to reduce bias. And this is particularly important in our discipline because there are many debates that are going on in social sciences about the inequalities in knowledge production and how scholars from global south are sometimes treated differently within the global academic systems. So in that sense, anonymous peer review is often seen as a safeguard. It tries to minimize any potential bias and so on. So understanding peer review becomes important because it's a very important technical step in publishing. And now, moving on, we can also discuss about what is the most demanding stage: the review, the revision, and the resubmission process. In very rare cases, your paper will be accepted without revisions. Especially in political and social sciences, most papers come back with revisions. And revisions could be major revisions, they could be minor revisions. And very often, papers go through multiple rounds of revision. So, revision is not an exception, it is a norm in academic publishing. And at this stage, we receive detailed comments from the reviewers. They may question our arguments, they may critique our methodology, they may also give us suggestions regarding restructuring our paper, adding more literature to it, and so on. And responding to reviewers is not about blindly accepting everything they say. It's about engaging with them very thoughtfully. Sometimes we will agree and revise accordingly, but there are also times when we may want to actually defend our argument. But when we try to defend our argument, we will have to do it with a lot of clarity and evidence. So when we choose to accept what they say, or when we try to defend our argument, what we need to understand is that the reviewers give us suggestions only to strengthen our work. So we must treat reviewers as collaborators and not as adversaries. This is the first thing that we have to understand. They're not trying to reject our work, they are only trying to help refine it. And of course, rejection is also part of the process. It can be by the peer reviewers. Rejection also includes what we call desk rejection, where your paper is rejected even before going into peer review. And this can be very frustrating. I know all of us have gone through this particular phase, especially when your work seems to perfectly align with the journal, and still they choose to reject it. But you may have to read the journal description one more time. You may want to check the editorial board, or you may also use tools like journal finders and so on. But still, even after doing all of this, your paper may get rejected. Because that could be because of various reasons, maybe lack of novelty, weak framing of research problem, or insufficient clarity. There could be many reasons. But what I want to tell each one of you is that rejection is not failure for sure. It is part of the knowledge production process. So when responding to reviewers, we have to be very systematic, we have to be very respectful, we have to maintain that academic civility and so on. And when necessary, we can also defend our work with a lot of clarity and confidence. And this entire process, however, is very demanding. But at the same time, it also leads to refining your ideas. It leads to strengthening the contribution that you are making. So I'm coming to the next stage now, the publication stage. So once your article is accepted, the next step is usually signing the publishing agreement with the publisher. This is followed by the final proof that you will be reading. You will make sure everything is accurate before it goes live and all of that. So at this stage, you have to make a very important decision. How do you want your work to be published? This is where the idea of open access comes in. So open access basically means your research is freely available to everyone. There's no any paywalls attached. So there are many who call this democratization of knowledge also. And now there are different types of open access. The first one is the gold open access. Your article is immediately and permanently available. Anybody can access it, read it for free, but you will have to pay something called the article processing charge. And this fee can be, usually they charge very high fee. So this fee may be paid by you if you can afford it, or it can be supported by your institution, or sometimes there could be a research funding agency that can come and help you. So in simple terms, you pay for the publication and the readers access it for free. But just because you pay, there is no guarantee that your work will be published. Even in open access journals, your work must go through peer review. They must meet the same standards of quality and originality. So open access is not about bypassing the system. It's about broadening the access to knowledge, but at the same time, you also maintain academic standards. The next one is the green open access. So in this particular model, you publish an article in a regular subscription based journal, but you also upload a version of your work in your institutional repository or your personal repository. That could be your university website, that could be an institutional website that you have certain academic platforms. You can upload your work there. But unlike the gold open access, you cannot make it openly available. What happens is that you're archiving a version of your work separately. But what you have to understand is that the journals will impose something called the embargo period. An embargo simply means a waiting period before your work can actually become openly accessible to all. And this period could be somewhere between 6 to 12 months, and sometimes even longer depending on the journal's policy and so on. So the basic idea is you publish in a journal, you wait for the embargo period to be over, then you share your work through a repository. So this way, you're publishing in established journals, and at the same time, you're also ensuring wider accessibility for your work. And the next one is the hybrid open access. This is the most common model today. Here, the journal is primarily a subscription-based journal, which means most of its content is behind a paywall. You have to pay. You have to pay a subscription. You have to subscribe to the journal. But then it will give the authors an option. You can choose to pay an article processing charge, which will make your individual article alone open access. So within the same journal, some articles will be freely accessible and others are paid or restricted. So, in simple terms, if I should tell you, the journal remains paid, but you can unlock your own article by opting for open access. The next one is the Diamond Platinum Open Access. Here, the article is free for both the authors and the readers. So, authors do not pay any publication charge, the readers do not pay any money to access the article. So, again, nobody pays, everybody can read. And but how are these journals able to do this? Because most of these journals will be funded by universities, by research institutions, by government, and so on. So, but they're very, very rare. They're relatively rare. And the next one is the bronze open access. So, in this model, the article is free to read on the publisher's website. But from a reader's perspective, it appears to be openly accessible. But the difference is that they do not carry something called the Commons license. Now, what is this Creative Commons license? It is the usage rights pertaining to sharing, reproducing the work or reusing the work and so on. So in bronze open access, the article is free to read, but reuse permissions are not clearly granted. That's the problem here. And licensing, plays a very important role in defining what others can actually do with your work. And finally, let me also discuss about another important avenue: books and book publishing. Books continue to be highly significant both in natural sciences and social sciences, and especially in our disciplines, they carry a lot of academic weight. You see some of the publishers on the screen. You have the Routledge, you have the Springer, you have Bloomsbury, you have MIT Press, and so on. So most reputed publishers also offer royalties. It starts with like around 10% of net sales, though this can vary depending on which publisher you choose. So, book publishing is not just an academic output, it also becomes an additional source of income. So, authors receive royalties based on the copies that are sold. There are different formats, as you know: ebooks, paperback, hardback, and so on, hardbound, and so on. So next, I would also want you to look at the examples on the slide. These include books published by colleagues from my own department, with publishers like Palgrave, Springer, and others. One of the volumes here it is the edited work by myself and Adesh, who's which is part of the SDG series initiated within our college. And in this case, we are not only co-editors, but we have also contributed to the volume. This is what you can actually do. You also see another colleague of mine, Ashik J. Bonifer. You have Hans J. Freddy. Again, Hans J. Freddy. They've all contributed. They've all had books, and they've published with very important and very prominent publishers. And this is just to give you examples of what it can be. And yeah. And next, I'm coming back to something again very important, as I mentioned earlier. The role of think tanks in political and social sciences. They play a very important role because they are not just research institutions. They are spaces where academic ideas meet policy and practice. So what you see on the slide is just a representative list of some of the prominent think tanks. You see the RAND Corporation. You see CIPRI. You also see from India. You see IDSA. You see NIAS. You see National Maritime Foundation, and so on. And you also have a lot of other policy oriented and independent think tanks like ORF, Gateway House, CPPR. In fact, the founder of CPPR, Mr. Dhanuraj, is an alumnus of our own department. And so, closer to our thematic interest, we can also think of Institute of Peace and Conflict Studies. We have the Chennai Center for China Studies, and so on. So, and why do we think think tanks are so important? Because they offer an alternative publication avenues. They provide opportunities for policy engagement, and these platforms help us with world research. And in many cases, publishing with a reputed think tank can be as impactful, sometimes even more impactful than a journal article, depending on your audience and the purpose. And then now this slide again shows you examples of think tank publications. The first example here is the Conflict Annual 2025. It is an edited volume that reviews major international conflicts across the world. It is published by NIAS, specifically under the School of Conflict and Security Studies, headed by Professor Subha Chandran, who's also an alumnus of our department. And in the next few slides, I would also like to showcase the works of our own students, because one of the encouraging trends that we have observed over the past few years is the active participation of beginner researchers. So this is also an indication that these opportunities are very much accessible to all of us, to faculty, to students. For instance, on the screen you see Anto Maria. She's a postgraduate student. She also did undergraduation with us, and she recently published with a think tank in Delhi. And then you see Sandhya, a third year UG student. She has published with NIAS. We have Aparna. Aparna is also a third year student, and she has similarly published with NIAS. And so, what is important here is not publications, but the pathways that have enabled these publications. In many cases, internships and think tanks play a very, very critical, crucial role. They act as a launch pad. They help early career researchers in publication. So think tanks are not just spaces for established scholars, they're also entry points for emerging scholars, especially in political and social sciences. They bring students, members, academics, and also policy practitioners together. And this is a true meeting ground for ideas and engagement. Now, let me also take you to another important space for publication, the media. In social and political sciences, media platforms are extremely significant, because researchers often take the role of what we call the commentariat, those who interpret, analyze, and comment on contemporary issues. So, some of the major platforms include Hindu, Deccan Herald, Indian Express, The Week, Frontline, and Diplomat. And why are these important? Because publishing in such platforms is not just about visibility, you're also shaping public discourse. For example, one of our articles was published in The Diplomat, which is an international magazine. Interestingly, the article focused on Tamil Nadu, but was published for a global audience. And this connects to something that I had mentioned earlier about how we must always think about where do you want your ideas to go? Who are your target audience? Because even a region specific topic can be positioned for a global readership if you frame it appropriately. And now, coming to the idea of impact, it is not just about citations, it's also about the conversations your work generates. In this case, when we posted a note on LinkedIn about an article, and when we shared what the article basically spoke about, there were so many conversations around it about the Dravidian model of development in Tamil Nadu, about whether it could serve as a template for other contexts. There was somebody from Sri Lanka who wrote to us asking us if the same model can be applied in Sri Lanka, and so on. So impact is also about the conversations that emerge out of your publications. And most importantly, these platforms are not limited to faculty around alone. They're also open to students. For example, one of our postgraduate students, Miss Lakshmi, she published an article in the Hindu in January 2026, focusing on Antarctica, drawing from her interest in maritime and ocean studies. So media platforms are powerful spaces where research meets public debate. Scholars, both faculty and students, can actively engage with the wider world. And then you also have blogs and web articles. They're also important publication avenues. In fact, some of the most prestigious institutions run their own academic blogs. A good example that I've given here is the London School of Economics blog. What is interesting here is that these platforms are not just for early career researchers. Even leading scholars actively publish in them. For instance, the one you see on one of the blog pieces here is authored by Barry Buzin, a well-known figure in international relations. He focuses on securitization theory and so on. So the point here is that even highly established scholars, they recognize blogs as serious spaces of knowledge dissemination, and so we can also look forward to it. And similarly, we also have highly reputed web platforms and portals. One important example I have given here is War on the Rocks. This is a leading platform focused on conflict, war, and strategic studies, and it focuses on field based insights and so on. In fact, for many scholars and practitioners around the world, publishing in platforms like War on the Rocks can be more prestigious and more impactful than even the other journal publications that they have. So, once again, there is clear evidence that publication is not confined to journals and books alone. There are multiple influential platforms, and as scholars, we should learn to engage with them strategically. And let me also move on to a very important vertical, the ethical publishing practices. As you all know, at the heart of academic work is integrity. And in this regard, one of the first things we need to clearly understand is the difference between similarity and plagiarism. For example, when you submit your work to tools like Turnitin, what you receive is nothing but a similarity report. That simply tells you that certain parts of your text are similar to the existing sources. But similarity is not the same as plagiarism. It becomes plagiarism only when the similarity is not properly acknowledged through a citation. So the key is not to eliminate similarity. Of course, we can borrow from the other scholars, but then what is important is to ensure proper attribution, that you give proper citation. And beyond this, we must also maintain authorship integrity. There must be a clarity in defining who's the first author, who's the second author, and so on. We need to avoid any form of unethical practices in authorship claims, and we also have to declare any conflict of interest. But again, another important aspect is transparency. We must be very clear about our data sources, about our methods, about the process through which we arrive at our conclusions. In social sciences, especially, this also involves ethical responsibility towards participants. For example, you have to maintain confidentiality. You have to ensure anonymity. You, especially when it comes to interviews and fieldwork, you have to ensure anonymity. And now I would also like to touch upon a more contemporary challenge that all of us face today, the role of generative AI in academic writing. This is an ongoing debate. Today, almost every platform we use is becoming AI enabled. So some use AI for language refinement, some use it for structuring ideas. But it gets very concerning when entire manuscripts are generated using AI. Personally, I would like to take a very cautious, or I should say a very conservative position here, because to me, writing is an integral part of thinking. And excessive reliance on AI can actually dilute the process. In fact, we are reaching a point where, ironically, imperfection in language is seen as a proof of human authorship. When the grammar is very poor, we tend to think, okay, it's not written by AI. So technology will continue to evolve. We can do nothing about it, but we must be very careful about where do we draw the line. How do we preserve the intellectual integrity of scholarship? That is very important. And as we talk about this unethical use of AI, I would also like to draw your attention to a very specific and a very emerging concern that most of us are facing today, the problem of false positives in AI detection. There is now a growing evidence, including recent academic discussions, that it's becoming a very serious issue now, particularly for scholars belonging to the global south, especially for those of us for whom English is not a native language. Their work is increasingly being misidentified as AI generated. What you see in the screen is an article about this false positives, about how AI detection unfairly accuses scholars of AI plagiarism. And let me explain this to you with a recent example of from our own work. We had submitted, me and another colleague of mine, and along with the student, we had actually submitted and a jointly written chapter. It was entirely human written, including references. But then, when our work was sent to turn it in, the AI detection system flagged around 21% of the text as AI generated, and we were very shocked. So we had asked our editors to send us the report, so that we wanted to know what was flagged as AI generated, and we were shocked to note that author profiles were flagged as AI generated. For example, Adarsh Vijay is an assistant professor in the Department of Political Science at Madras Christian College. That was flagged as AI written. But if you see, my name is there at the top. Again, it's the same thing. R. Vidya is an assistant professor in the Department of Political Science at the Madras Christian College. That was not flagged as AI. So now the question is, how else can you possibly write this? These are standard academic formulations. There is no meaningful way to paraphrase that somebody is working in a particular institution. How do we rephrase it? So, in fact, when editors removed these author bylines, the AI detection score dropped to zero. So, what does this tell us? That the system is not necessarily detecting AI, but sometimes there are chances that even a structured, formal academic writing is detected as AI. So, this also creates a deeper irony. So, the very scholars who have to develop, who have strong writing skills, who have achieved clarity and coherence over time, they are the ones who are mostly affected. They are now at the risk of being misclassified as AI generated. And the larger paradox is this: generative AI itself is trained on human writing. It is trained on human writing. So when humans write well in a very structured or in a very polished way, it is sometimes mistaken as AI. So this is why we need to be extremely cautious, not just in how we use AI, but also in how we interpret AI detection tools. Because otherwise, we will be undermining the very credibility of genuine human scholarship. So Building on this issue of positives, we're also now witnessing a broader shift in how journals are responding to AI. Because of the increasing number of false positives, many journals are beginning to acknowledge the practical realities of writing. So, one such reality is that most commonly used grammar checking tools are now AI enabled. So, what happens is, even when authors use these tools only for language refinement, their work may still be flagged as AI generated. This is becoming a serious concern. So the intention here is not to generate content, but simply to improve clarity and grammar. But again, the system fails to distinguish between the two. Even when you try to make your language better, immediately it is seen as using AI to generate ideas and so on. So again, there's also an ongoing debate: can AI be considered an author? Most journals are very clear on this. AI cannot be an author because authorship requires accountability, it requires responsibility, it requires intellectual ownership, and these are qualities that AI cannot possess. So, however, journals are recognizing the ethical use of AI; it's becoming inevitable, and one such acceptable use is grammar and language refinement. And this is why many publishers, including Taylor and Francis, they now require a disclosure statement. You have to say what are the AI tools you have used. You must name the tool, and you must also name the purpose for which you use that particular tool. They're very, very clear about it. You need to mention all of that. And the use of AI is expected to be restricted only to language editing and clarity improvement, not for idea generation, not for content creation, not for argument construction. So again, so on one hand, we have to recognize the technological realities. At the same time, we also have to preserve our academic integrity. So as researchers, we need to be both aware and responsible when we navigate this evolving space. And I would also like to give you a sample of the AI disclosure statement. This is an example that I've taken from a journal published by Taylor and Francis. It talks about, the AI disclosure and how they are declaring why they have used AI and so on. So if you look at this particular disclosure, it talks about three things: what was the tool that they used, why was it used, and what was it not used for. So transparency becomes a key here. So it ensures that intellectual ownership remains with the author. The use of AI stays within the ethical boundaries. And I would also like to take talk about another emerging dimension of this debate: who is actually being affected by AI in writing. This is what you see on the screen is actually a very interesting piece that was published on Youth Ki Awas, a platform where young writers write about contemporary issues. So the title itself, you can see, is very provocative. AI writes perfect English. Whose privilege is really threatened? And what this particular article has opened up for a very important debate. It argues that AI, especially when you use it for language refinement, is beginning to bridge the long-standing inequalities, because traditionally, access to good language and writing skills, they have been tied to educational privilege, the kind of exposure you have, the socio-economic background, and so on. But now with AI tools, individuals who have not had any of these privileges are also able to produce polished, very coherent writing. But again, it raises a very important question: if perfect English is no longer a reliable marker of privilege, and then how do we define academic distinction? We can go on and on about it: who feels threatened by this shift, by this use of AI, and so on. But what we have to be more concerned about is that there should never be a over reliance on AI. About how do we ensure authenticity in writing, and what are the boundaries that we can set for ethical use. So this is a very provocative piece that had come up in this particular platform. And so I think we're running short of time. To conclude, so publication definitely brings authenticity to classroom. Yes, teaching is central to what we do, but research also complements teaching because it shapes what kind of knowledge is valued, what becomes visible, what gets legitimized, and so on. So, in that particular sense, it makes our teaching more grounded, it makes it more authentic. Second, publishing is also a process. It's not just about writing, it involves a lot of strategy, negotiation, and overall resilience, especially when it comes to facing rejections. And thirdly, the role of metrics can be limited, especially in social and political sciences. They are important, yes, But the true impact of our work should definitely go beyond citations and numerical indicators. It should also be about policy influence. It should be about societal engagement and so on. And fourthly, the publication ecosystem is very diverse. As I've been telling you all through this session, our field is not just confined to publications in our field are not just confined to journals and books. There's think tanks, there's media, there's blogs, there's public platforms, and even if metrics don't recognize them, we need to understand that if they can create a impact, if they can lead to a social change, and we can definitely publish it in these platforms also. And again, fifthly, rejection is normal. It's part of the publication process. It should not be considered a failure, but just a step in refining knowledge. And finally, clarity and ethics are central to good research, and these cannot be achieved overnight. We have to develop it through continuous practice. And with that, I would like to conclude, and I wish each one of you great success in all your publishing endeavors, because I'm very confident that each of us here will be able to successfully navigate through the complexities and challenges of the publishing ecosystem, especially when it comes to political science and social sciences. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Vidya, for a wonderful and elegant presentations, and you have taken us to the whole journey of manuscript preparation to the publication stage. And you also introduced the various avenues available, which definitely will be useful for our audience, thinking that writing is a process and research is a process, and we have a lot of avenues available for that. Then you also touched upon the metrics and the process, the peer review types, and so on. And you just beautifully concluded with the influence of AI and in what way we need to use it. Thank you so much. And we have few questions popped up in the chat box. And I request the participants, if you want to ask the speaker, you can unmute and you can ask.
Ma'am, I have a question. There is Reverend Francis, online journals, and other journals. Is it easy to publish in Reverend Francis online, or that makes any difference between both in the case
Okay.
of publication?
Okay, you're asking me if it's okay to publish in an online journal.
No, Taylor and Francis. Taylor and Francis online journals are there. Other
Yeah.
journals are not online, both.
Okay.
And online is separate category, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it easy
I
to publish?
understand.
Is it easy to publish Taylor and Francis online compared to other Taylor and Francis journals? Because nowadays many publications coming out from Taylor
That
and
is not
Francis
the issue,
online instead
ma'am.
of that.
Whether it is online or offline, it is about the standard of the journal, right? So it is not easy if it is online or it is very tough. So that is
Uh,
out. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am, when it comes to
that's
Taylor
true.
and Francis, we have had experiences publishing with Taylor and Francis. It's a very rigorous system that they follow. Their peer review system mechanism is very, very strong. There are multiple revisions that will happen, but trust me, it is a great learning experience. Every time you get a report from a reviewer, it's a great learning experience. There's so much that you learn. You understand the reviewer's perspective, and you try to bring in your perspective. You have some kind of a discussion with them. So I wouldn't categorize, you can't really say if it's easy, if it's difficult. No. The thing is with publishing and with not just Taylor and Francis, with any journal for that matter, you have to first look at whether your area of interest matches with the theme of that particular journal. And if it matches well, and if it's a very rigorous, and if it's a very meaningful and impactful work, it will definitely get published. It will take a long time. For example, our article on IAF, it did took more than 2 years. There's another article that we have submitted. I think it's going to be close. It's going to be more than 1.5 years, and I'm sure there's going to be one or two rounds of reviews now pending. But again, it's very meaningful. It gives a lot of purpose to your research. It refines your work. So it's not about the levels of difficulty. It's about what kind of a learning experience it can be. Imagine you send it to a journal that's not very prominent, or you send it to a journal that's not yeah, that does not have create an impact, or that does not have a huge readership. Then your work is going to be limited to a smaller audience. The idea for any researcher is to ensure that more people read your work, because in political and social sciences, it's not just about publishing. As I told you earlier, it's about creating an impact. And how do you create an impact? When more people read your work, when it reaches important places, when there are a lot of conversations built around your work. So I think Taylor and Francis I wouldn't say it's difficult, it's easy, but if the work is good, if it's rigorous, it aligns with their theme, with their focus, with their priorities, it will definitely get published. But again, it will take more than 2 years, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Ma'am, can I ask?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, please.
Okay. Ma'am, you told Turnitin, there are some difficulties in Turnitin. So, the same I have experienced while submitting the PG dissertation. One of my friend got her own name as AI generated something. So, is there any alternative app or something that can be replaced in turn, like
Instead of Turnitin, if you even go for something else, for example, when we try to understand how much of AI our students have used, we use something called Zero GPT. Again, when you put the work on Zero GPT and when you try to check, again, there is so much of false positives that you will see. So we should understand that technology is also evolving. It will get better with time. So we can only wait. There will definitely be false positives. And as editors, as people who are working as members of the academia, we should be also able to recognize, we should also be able to understand these false positives and decide on the merit of the work accordingly.
Yeah. I think like we will just start the valedictory program so that those who have some questions, they can stay back and interact with the speaker after the short valedictory program. And we'll start this valedictory with a word of prayer. And I request the Dean R&D, Dr. Hadrat, to lead us in prayer.
Let us pray. The Bible says in Psalm 136, verse 1, "Oh, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His mercies endure forever." Lord, our Heavenly Father, we come to you, Lord, with gratitude in our hearts for your boundless grace and mercy upon each one of us. Thank you, Lord, for the MCC Research Colloquium and all the tireless efforts that are being taken to make every session and every event possible. Lord, we are thankful for the opportunity that we have to gather together and to learn from each other. Lord, we ask that you will bless each participant here, the speakers, facilitators. We pray for your blessing and your grace to rest upon each of us. Lord, we pray, O Lord, that we'll be inspired to apply the knowledge and insights and learnings that we have had in our academics, in our scholarly writing, and take it back to our institutions to bring glory and honor to your name. We ask all this in the matchless name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. You're on mute, sir.
Yeah. So thank you so much, ma'am. And I have the duty of welcoming the gathering as well as just to brief about what has happened in the 4 days. I welcome you all to the valedictory program of the 5-day series on qualitative research in political and social sciences. We have got 5 speakers speaking on different areas of writing and publishing. All 5 people are very young, and from the Department of Political Science, I should thank the head of the department, Sridhar sir, and the speakers for their commitment and their content that they delivered here in this the 5-day series. I also thank all the participants who have joined from different parts of the country. I just noted down around 329 individual institutions. There are many institutions where we have 2, 3 participants and so on. They have registered. Around 900 participants, they were registered, but 350 to 380 people, they were very regular to all the 5 days. And thank you so much for your listening and then active participation in the questions and the regular feedback and so on. Definitely now it's a time to hear it from new participants. So you can use the chat box, but I prefer like few people can unmute and you can share your experience. Then we'll just move to our valedictory address by our beloved principal. So you can unmute and you can share your feedback quickly, one by one.
Can I
Please
speak?
introduce yourself. Yes, yes. Please introduce like your name and then institution and the state. Yeah.
I'm a research scholar doing at St. Aloysius, Mangalore. I attended first day I couldn't because of my illness, but all 4 days I was very regular. and it was very insightful. And the speakers, those who were assigned for different topics, they were thorough with the subject, and they were able to give a lot of examples. Giving examples and illustrations speaks a lot that they are very good at research. What I felt, it is very insightful, and really I gained a lot from these sessions. One day I was thinking whether I could get help from these experts when I am just started my research, completed my coursework. I need the help, especially for publication. Whether we could continue this kind of relationship, and you can continue with this kind of sessions, I will be very happy to attend. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We will share the MCC Research Colloquium participants WhatsApp group. You are feel free to join, and you can be a part of our upcoming programs as well. Next, anyone?
Good evening, sir.
Yes, ma'am, please.
I'm Priya, faculty from Apollo College of Nursing. I attended all the 5 days session. It was very informative, sir. And though I'm from a different field, I could able to learn research and statistics. And all the examples which they have shared was quite interesting. I learned a lot of new things, new ideas, like selection of topic, like publishing articles, all those things. It was really interesting and informative. All the speakers were little speed, I think. I felt, I don't know, maybe due to online, but I could able to learn a lot of new things. Thank you so much for the opportunity, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bias on the symptoms of background. I myself from the Department of Political Science, and I was very happy to be part of this because it is very.
Sir, your voice is not that clear, sir. Sir, can you check your end, please?
Hello, is it audible? Hello.
Sir, your voice is not clear. Can you check?
Then I'll drop. Maybe someone else can talk. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, please, yes. Jayvant, sir. Yeah. Next.
Hi, I'm Jayvant Michael. I'm actually not in India. I'm in University of Doha for Science and Technology in Qatar. So this was a good change from the missiles and drone attacks we are having here to be able to improve my knowledge. And actually, I know the person who I think is behind this whole colloquium idea because he had mentioned that to me, who's going to be speaking, I think, a little later. But I don't know, whether anyone really visualized the real impact of this colloquium in so many ways. So it was great to meet, and listen even from a distance. A lot of experienced researchers, scholars, and so I started to do my PhD about a year back, and I'm reaching a stage where I'm making my proposal in a couple of weeks. So this was good information. We always learn, so there was definitely novelty in terms of some new ideas. There was a confirmation of things that I had also learned and was using. So I think this is something which needs to continue, and I would say that it could be even a program like this is something that could be offered to our students uh, who are engaging in this endeavor, and it's an idea that I might steal for my university here. So I think the best compliment you can give is to imitate. So that's a likely scenario. And it's good to see you, Dr. Tabitha, as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Yeah. We can have 3 more people.
Hello,
Yeah, you
sir.
can. Yes.
Everyone. This is Harshini from Loyola College, and I'm doing my master's in international relations, Master of Arts in International Relations. And especially, I just saw this invitation, like a poster of MCC Research Colloquium in LinkedIn, and I thought of giving it a go because people like me, like a budding research student or research scholar, we need much guidance, and all the sessions I attended this week were all really insightful, and I got to know many things. Like it was so insightful and informative. And thank you so much for this opportunity. And I would appreciate the organizing committee, and of course the speakers and the the guests who gave the insights as well. They were very informative, and they took their own time to explain each and every that's been asked, and they stayed even after the time proposed. And thank you everyone. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hello, can I speak?
Yes, please.
I am Nazrana Sheikh from Kamal College for Women, Goa. I think this was one session. Every session was so good. Usually, when it's online, you generally tend to, keep your laptop or mobile and go somewhere. But I was glued to my seat, looking forward for each and every session. Every resource person is excellent. Time management is excellent. Very well organized. Congratulations and thank you for such a beautiful session and very academically enriching.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. We can have 2 more people. Yeah.
Yeah, good evening, sir. This is Dhanunjay from Pondicherry University, research scholar. When I registered for this session, actually I am from law background, but I was thinking whether it will be helpful for my research or not initially. But the first session and when I got to the second session, I was like, if I didn't attend this session, I might lose some good valuable sessions. So like each speaker like gave a depth analysis in that 1 hour of class only. I was so impressed, and even I connected through LinkedIn to the respective speakers to appreciate immediately, because the depth of knowledge in that 1 hour you people given was so highly informative, sir. Thank you to the organization and to the MCC for organizing these type of sessions, and looking forward for more sessions if we are willing to join whenever MCC is going to conduct any other sessions like this. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. We will be posting the common MCC Research Colloquium participants group link in the WhatsApp so that you can just click and be a part of it if you were not. So
Yes.
that you can get all the updates from our MCCRC. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Dr.
Good evening,
Selva
sir.
Kumar. Yes.
I'm Dr. Selva Kumar. I am Assistant Professor, Director, Dr. Kalaignar Karunanidhi, Center for Political Science, Periyar Maniammai Institute of Science and Technology in Deemed University in Tanjavur. I'm old student of Department of Political Science. First of all, I thanks my department. All staffs are very much touched all the very important points. Especially, we are all are very youngsters. What the current at the situation, what the need of the topic. Very good explanation, and in the PPT also. Thank you very much for this. All my department staffs, this teamwork, always success teamwork. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Selva Kumar sir. Thank you for joining and connecting to political science again. Once MCC and always MCC. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Anyone? Yes.
Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, yes, you are, please.
Yes, sir. My name is Sampok Deka. I am from Assam.
I think he has been disconnected.
Good
Then any
evening,
other?
sir.
Yeah, yes, please.
Sir, my name is Samaja Devan. I am a research scholar from St. Joseph Training College from Kerala. First of all, I would like to thank Madras Christian College for conducting such an informative and very insightful session. And it was a very valuable learning experience for me. I appreciate the effort taken by each persons and each resource person, and I'm interested to participate in more sessions. And I have a request that to kindly share the feedback form on WhatsApp because I'm not able to have open the chat session now.
Yeah, we will share the feedback form after this validity program. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, we'll have final one more person you can share, then we can
Sir,
just
good
proceed.
evening,
Hello, sir.
sir. This is
Hello,
from
sir.
Margaret from
Good evening, sir.
Yes,
Bishop
ma'am.
College. Sir, it is very informative session for each and every day, sir. We are think research is going to the next level. What we have to do that it is very informative session, sir, and very helpful for each and every research scholars doing and research publication is very open access. What we have to do that it is very helpful for each and everyone, sir. Thank you very much for MCC team, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. Please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sampok Deka. I am from Assam, and presently I am working as an assistant professor at BP Solia College, and I am also a research scholar at Kumar Bhaskaramma Sanskrit and Ancient Studies University. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Madras Christian College for giving us such a opportunity. I have recently completed my coursework, and after that, I am getting this opportunity to learn from your STEM college. It is very extraordinary session, and I have attend all the session, which is very much helpful in my all the research journey. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay.
Hello, sir. Good
Thank
evening.
you.
Night.
Yeah, yes, please.
Hello, good evening to another person here. This is Solkapian, a PhD research scholar from Malappa University. I need to say one thing is all the five sessions are wonderful, and for the budding researcher like me, it corrected so many mistakes that I am doing in the research, and it hit on me. It make me to restart my research after this colloquium. I think that I will be a better researcher. Thank you, Onadal, and thank you for the MCC coordinators for this research colloquium. And one more request is, please make us and bring us for an office offline meeting like seminars to MCC. We are always expecting that from you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And we'll be having the next FDP on AI tools for writing and publishing and how to use AI to what extent in an ethical way. That will be there in the next month. We will have that. We'll shortly share the flyer as well. And now, thank you so much. And you can share your feedback in the chat box. We're running short of time, and I would like to welcome our beloved principal, Dr. P. Wilson, who is the brain, whose brainchild is the MCC Research Colloquium when he assumed office in 2020. And, we have just completed 199, and I invite you all to the 200th episode in the coming week. Yeah. Over to our principal.
Shall I?
Yeah, yes, sir, please.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Yeah, happy to see 365 participants. I heard that it's more than 400. On a final day, having 365 is something like an achievement. So thank you so much, the Department of Political Science, for taking up efforts in conducting this event, first of its kind. Because in MCC, this is the first time that we see a department taking up the MCCRC and conducting 5 days. I think I need to appreciate the department for the solidarity and trying to have some empathy on the importance of this particular event. Political science research scholars and the supervisors from all over India, even from right from Assam to South India, we can see departments here. Thank you so much. And I'm sure that this trend will definitely continue with other departments, and they would also come up to share their resources, share their knowledge, disseminate their knowledge for us. As part of the valedictory address, I just want to make one note and then call it a day. Many of you probably are wondering why we are not able to benchmark our publications to the international standards. Maybe I think one of the reasons, and maybe this is not the exclusive reason, but one of the reasons is that mostly I find out, even from science also I find out, social sciences, humanities, I find out that we don't have a proper problem statement in our titles, research titles. When I see a PhD bios title, I see studies on something, incremental changes in the title. And finally, we make every effort to do some statistics and some survey and empirical research. And finally, we publish studies, but the solutions are not much used in the field. So Einstein said once, if you give me 1 hour to solve a problem, I'll spend 55 minutes to just dig into the problem. I'll spend only to define the problem for 55 minutes. And last 5 minutes, once I define the problem from every perspective, then maybe the last 5 minutes I'll spend for finding a solution. That would be the authentic solution, having good prevention. So this is the perception of Einstein. So I encourage all of you to please spend some time to read literature. I see that mostly we don't read literature. We make assumptions and then define some problem. If my senior has done one problem, then my junior will do another problem by changing 1 or 2 factors and so on. But that is not the research. So I feel that is the reason that we are not able to publish. So when you have your strong pain point, you convert that into a problem statement and then build your hypothesis around it. And then look at from every perspective and then synthesize the new knowledge. If you try to do that, I'm sure that publishing would not be a big issue. I think this is the core issue that I find out from research scholars and from various departments, established people who publish papers also. I see them publishing in some predatory publications. But if you do a deep dive and find out, this is one of the reasons and why they are not able to publish. That means they don't spend time to define the problem, the real-time problem. So if nowadays the whole talent acquisition has changed from submitting a CV to industries making efforts to see your profile portfolio by looking at your real-time problem solving, skill. So please look into this social sciences. There are a lot of problems. Every lived experience has a problem. So please map this with your domain. And if you're from political science, there are a lot of areas that we need to address. And if you're able to find some theoretical framework or a conceptual framework to solve the problem, from that particular lens, if you look into the problem, you'll be able to bring out a solution in a very controlled way. Otherwise, it will be an opinion which is not validated. So we don't want opinions. We want some validated opinions that will become a fact. Later, it can be applied by some others, and that will become a theory. So this is the idea that I want to just place before you. Please spend some time in reading literature, do a literature survey in a very, very comprehensive way, and then try to define the problem before you get into the actual problem to solve. So I congratulate the Department of Political Science for the effort that they've taken up. I'm sure in the coming days you can hear more talks from the department on various topics. Because the first exposure for them, next time definitely they'll make it up. And I wish the department all the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for your encouraging words and the suggestion to have working with the real-time problems to elevate our level of research to the indexed journals. Thank you so much, sir. We would like to have the group photo, the virtual group photo. We would like to see you all. So can you please turn on your camera and we would like to capture broad smiles in one frame and request Dr. Bevin to take the photo. So we would like to see you turning on your camera. And Bevin, you can also say 1, 2, 3, so that we can just take the snaps. Kindly unmute. I can see that. Ready? Yeah. Cheese. Okay. One more time. Ready?
Ready, sir.
Ready. Yeah. Taste cheese. Once it is done, please let me.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Happy to see all your happy faces. Okay, we'll just proceed to vote of thanks, and the feedback link will be posted here. And kindly take time to fill the feedback because it has the overall feedback. Please give your name correctly because that will be appearing on your digital certificates that will reach you in a couple of days through your email. Over to Dr. Kalyani, Associate Dean of Research and Development, for the vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. It is my honor to propose the vote of thanks for this insightful research colloquium on qualitative research in political and social sciences. First and foremost, I express my heartfelt gratitude to our respected principal for the constant support, visionary leadership, and for providing us with a platform to organize such a meaningful academic program. I extend my sincere thanks to our Vice Principal, Dr. Sridhar, who's also the head of the Department of Political Science, for his guidance and for playing a pivotal role in organizing this event. We are especially proud that all the resource persons for this colloquium are from his department, reflecting the strength and academic excellence of the Department of Political Science. I also express my gratitude to the Deanery of Research and Development, Madras Christian College, for their guidance and efforts in fostering a vibrant research culture within the institution. I express my gratitude to the MCC RC coordinator, Dr. Vijay Solomon, who has been with us throughout this event and made it a successful one and an insightful lecture to all the participants. I'm truly thankful to our distinguished resource persons, Dr. Vidya, Dr. Ashik, Dr. Mr. Adarsh Vijay, Mr. Kiran Rahul, and Dr. Subidhana for their enlightening sessions and valuable insights that have greatly enriched our understanding of qualitative research. I would also thank all the participants, nearly 400 participants every day, for your presence and active engagement, which had made this program truly meaningful and successful. And my sincere appreciation also goes to the organizing team, the technical support, the faculty members, the volunteers for their dedication and teamwork in making this event a grand success. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We are just officially winding up the 5-day series, and the speaker is available for another 5 minutes. And if at all you have any questions, you can talk to Dr. Vidya on today's topic. Thank you so much. The feedback link is already been posted. It will not be shared in the WhatsApp group. So if you do not fill the feedback form, you will not get the certificate. I reiterate once again, if you do not fill the feedback form, you will not get the certificate. And please take time to fill your name correctly because that will be appearing exactly the same. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
Sir, I am Professor Rekha from Mandragan Mathu Nursing College from Ranchi, Jharkhand.
Yes.
Sir, I'm continuously attending the workshop. In this, sir, actually, I'm not able to get the feedback. Actually, in chat box, it's not opening, sir. I'm trying to raise a question also. My chat box is not opening, sir.
It's okay. You just give today's feedback, ma'am. Just check that.
Sir, I'm not able to. Feedback also, I'm not able to. Actually, I clicked it. It's not coming for me.
You send me an email to mccrc@mcc.edu.in. In that case, we will consider your case as a separate case. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Dr. Vidya, you have a few questions in the chat box. One of the questions one is like, you talked about the blogs, right? So if we want to write the blog and other thing, we don't really want to take data or something like that. It's my opinion. Is it like
No,
that?
no, sir. It's not like
Clarify
that.
on that. Yeah.
It's definitely based on which platform you're choosing. For example, if you're looking at think tanks, they have very, very rigorous academic standards, just like journals. But when you talk about blogs, yes, they can be a little less rigorous. But again, it depends on which blog you're writing for and so on. There's also one more question on the chat box on One Nation, One Subscription. They have asked me to say something about ONOS. So this is actually a central government initiative. This is about giving access to almost 13,000 odd journals for the Indian students, faculty, and scholars. And what is very important, or what is very significant about this particular initiative, One Nation, One Subscription, is that there's also a lot of support that is given by this initiative for the article processing charges. As I told you, is very high. Usually, you have to pay a huge sum of money. So, in order to help the researchers, this particular initiative also gives you some little amount for the article processing charges, and this is actually key part of India's research and innovative strategy that comes under Viksit Bharat. That's one question. They wanted me to say a little bit about ONOS. And again, there are also how to check plagiarism and turn it in. Usually, it is the institutions that do that. Our library has it. Usually, the libraries in various institutions have these softwares. Otherwise, there are also other softwares. For example, there's something called at your own level. If you want to check plagiarism, there's small SEO tools, and if you want to check AI content, there is Zero GPT and so on. And again, there was another question on. I think these are the questions I saw on the chat box about
Yeah.
what.
Participants, if you want to ask any questions, you can unmute and you can ask. Otherwise, we will just wind up the session. The speaker is kind enough to spend some more time here. Thank you, Vidya ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. In the meanwhile, I would like to tell that we are going to have series of episodes in MC's Research Colloquium, and we have exclusive FDP in the month of April. We have one on AI tools for writing and publishing, and the speakers will be dealing with handling AI tools, how profitably, ethically, for the benefit of researchers, and what we can do from the literature search